Today I'm sharing with you the gardening books that I'm going to be using for my wartime challenge in 2026 for creating my victory garden. These books are inspired by wartime gardening and making the most of whatever land you have for growing your own food, no matter how small a plot that you've got. So if you're interested in that, do stay tuned and find out more in today's video. Hi, welcome back to Wildwood Cottage and welcome back to Wales. It's lovely to have you here. Hope you're all doing well and I hope you're all having a good week so far. Well, today we are looking at my gardening books and some of my wartime gardening books as well. For starting my Digging for Victory garden in my garden at the back here. As you know, any long-term viewers, I have tried to do this over the last couple of years, but my health just hasn't allowed me to, and I've not had the ability to be able to do it because there's such a lot of work that needs doing out there. But I'm hoping that these books, I've been reading them for the last 12 months and there's an awful lot of information in them. And I'm hoping that these books are going to inspire me, but also inspire you to be able to get out into the garden, no matter how small a plot you have, and start growing some of your own food. So let's have a look at the books and let's see what we can do. Right, one of the first books that I have got that I'm going to use a lot is this one. It's done by the Imperial War Museum and it's the Digging for Victory book. Now, there's a lot of information in this book. It talks about getting a plot. It also talks about the Digging for Victory campaign, vegetables that were grown, that kind of thing, about the land girls. It talks about everything, about the outbreak of war. It talks about the outbreak of war, digging for victory, dig for victory, the crops that you would have grown, the allotment army and how allotments came about, and food spaces that were made available, like parks, fields. I think even Buckingham Palace made available gardening plots for the war, if I'm right. There's also about the garden by instruction, the role of the media, and how the media played a part in the Digging for Victory campaign. And one of the books I have got to show you is in my recommended reading, and it's by a gentleman called Mr. Middleton, and it was a wartime program on the internet, like what they do on Radio 4 plays and that kind of thing. And it was just, I'll tell you a bit more about it, but it was a really good book. Anyway, it talks about winning ways with more how to use manures and compost, fighting the enemy, pests, insects and diseases, weapons and techniques for the garden, sowing the seeds for victory, children and gardening, the role of women, livestock on the lawn, the country house battleground, enjoy the garden despite it all, and need is still growing 1944, 1945 and past. So this is a very interesting book. So if you can afford it, do. It was about £3.50, I think, or £4 on eBay, but it's definitely worth it. The Digging for Victory campaign came about just after war broke out, and it came about simply because they knew that there was a need for more variety in the diet. Now, a lot of our food was produced abroad, and as soon as the war started, that kind of got cut off and cut down to a very bare minimum. My grandfather was involved in Battle of the Atlantic on my mum's side, and they were involved in trying to stop the U-boats from blowing up the ships that were bringing the food into our country at the time. So you had the Germans coming in to try and stop the boats, and our army going in and trying to stop the U-boats from stopping our boats. And the idea was, from the Germans' point of view, was that they were going to stranglehold our country, the UK, by cutting off our food supply. So what the Digging for Victory campaign did was galvanise the people left in this country who weren't fighting, to start a garden, to grow food. It increased your variety in your diet. It increased food production in the UK. It meant people had a lot more nutritious food to eat. Shops had a lot more nutritious food to sell, and it was just a win-win on all fronts. And it galvanized people to be able to make play a part in the war, no matter how old you were, because even if you were an old man with a cloth cap, you could still grow potatoes, you could still grow cabbages, you could still grow the food that was needed to feed your house, and it made you feel very useful. And I think it boosted morale a lot as well in people, because a lot of people were feeling very low that their loved ones had gone off to war, that the foods they ate before the war they couldn't eat now. So this campaign very much galvanised the people of the UK and people in different countries around the world, to be able to grow their own food and eat a lot more variety and be very healthy. So the Digging for Victory campaign played an awful lot of a crucial role within the war, within the tactics to defeat the Nazis, basically, and stop our country being taken over, because people then felt like they were a part of the war, fighting on the home front, fighting on the food front to feed the army, to feed people, and encourage people to grow it on their own land in their own home. So, yeah, it was a very important campaign during the war, helped immensely with the victory of the war, and continued right up until 1954, when the food supplies finally came through properly and rationing could come to an end. So, I highly recommend this book, highly recommend it. If you're interested in doing a garden, even in your own home, this book will give you valuable information on how to start and what to do, because it was basically aimed at novices, the Digging for Victory campaign, people who'd never grown anything. And the programs that were on the radio and things that you saw on the cinema at the time were aimed at helping everybody to grow food. So I think it's something that's definitely needed today. And even if you've never grown anything, start off with a pot with some lettuce in, a bag with some potatoes in, and maybe some onions in a windowsill box. And they're going to be good staples, because onions were in very short supply during the war because we got them from abroad. And they were very scarce. So if you could grow your own onions, you were highly encouraged to do so, and leeks, and spring onions. So yeah, if you can grow something in a box, in a windowsill, in a tub outside your back door, even if it's just herbs to add to your meals, it'll be a good morale boost to you to think, I'm growing something that's nutritious, that's healthy, that can go towards feeding my family. And in the end, that was what it was all about. Everybody had something to share. If you had rhubarb and somebody else had a mountain of potatoes, you could swap your rhubarb for their potatoes, and you could have potatoes and rhubarb, and they would have potatoes and rhubarb. So it was definitely a sharing community, and things got swapped, things got bartered. People could grow their own animals, they could grow chickens and pigs, and they could keep a goat for milk. So yeah, it was very much encouraged during the war to supply and provide your own food for your own household. So this will give you a lot of information as to how that worked, and yeah, just a good bit of reference material for you for starting your own garden. So that's the first one. The second one is this one, and it's a wartime guide to growing food, how to grow food. It's a good little book. It's got a lot of information in it from a novice's point of view, suitable to tools and clothing, weed problems, countrywoman's advice. It's got how to grow, when to grow, and why. It's got looking out for pests, asparagus growing, onion growing, uh, question of small fruit, sort of currants and raspberries and things. Was it worth it? Was it worth growing them? Because they take up quite a bit of space. Suitable hens to keep for during the war, how to preserve your food, how to hang them up and get them to dry, because you don't want to have moisture in your food. Hens and pigs, how to keep them. So yeah, this is a useful little book. It's by Doreen Wallace, and I think I paid about £2.50 for this one. So if you're a novice gardener, this will give you a few hints and tips, and I'm going to use this one. I am going to use this one. The other one I'm going to use is this one. Now, I have shown you this before, and it's called the Allotment Garden Guide. Allotment and a Garden Guide. Sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted. It's a monthly guide to better wartime gardening by Twigs Way. Highly, highly recommend this one. It's a good book for setting out your garden on a monthly basis, so you know what jobs you need to do. Again, I got this on eBay for about £2.50. It wasn't a lot of money. The contents in it are what to grow, manure, crop rotation, pests and wildlife, women in the garden, because women really didn't do things like that a lot up until the war, when they were encouraged to join the land girl army for growing food for the nation. They turned farm fields and things like that. The house next door to me here had land girls growing food here. And the food went off to feed the military and feed the people working in hospitals and all sorts of important places like that. And yeah, it was just a vital role. So the land girls played an enormous part in the war. And it's interesting to see how much of a life change these women went through, from a lot of them being stay-at-home housewives to actually having to go out and work and do manual, strenuous, hard work as well. So it was a very big lifestyle change for them. So when you see women in the garden in books like this, it's important to read them, because it's important to see how women's lives did change and the dangers that they were in sometimes as well. Doing some dangerous jobs like secret service and things like that. So yeah, women did play a vital role. It also talks about lighter moments, stories from the garden, and then it takes you through from January to December in a guide, and sets out the guides as wartime leaflets again. So yeah, it's a very useful book. I did start following it last year. It talks about liming the soil, about growing artichokes, picking Brussels sprouts, getting early rhubarb. That was October's guide. And then onions, sow onions, hold them, how to hold the moisture in your garden, stop pests. A lovely Queen Elizabeth, when she was Princess Elizabeth, doing her bit in the garden. More root crops, words about gathering crops. So there's loads of information: how to grow tomatoes, getting on with the job, how to sow your garden. So yeah, highly recommend that for £3. I think it was about £2.50 or £3. It's definitely worthwhile getting that one. Because if you're new again to gardening, it'll take you from a novice perspective as to what to do and when, so that you can keep up to date with the gardening jobs and get a good, successful garden, which is what I'm hoping for this year. I got a good crop of tomatoes last year, but the weather was a bit off. We had a really hot, dry spell, and it was difficult to keep up on top of the watering, because we have our water from natural source. Our water comes from a lake or stream in that direction, and I didn't want to hog the water and take the water from everybody else. So it was very difficult to keep on top of the watering last year, and in the end I just gave up. For the tomatoes I did get, and the courgettes I did get, it was very, very minimal, but a good crop, and they're in my freezer waiting to be turned into something. The courgettes we used, I think I've got one left. And yeah, they turned out quite well for what I did, really. So that's that book. The other book I'm going to use is this Polytunnel book. Now, this isn't a wartime book, but I got it for £1 in my local charity shop in my local town. And it is a step-by-step guide on how to grow food all year round in the Polytunnel. I recommend it if you can get it. It's laid out again month by month of what vegetables to grow, what to sow, when to sow it, what jobs to be doing. For copyright, I can't show you too much of the book. Tells you what jobs you need to be doing to get a good harvest, watering, compost, all that sort of thing. Even jobs that you can be doing to get on with things in the winter. So yeah, I highly recommend that. I paid £1. You can get them cheap on eBay. Not sure how much they are, haven't looked. But it's even got gardening calendar with the things that they suggest that you grow, so you can see what to sow and when to sow it, when to harvest it, picking, when to pick things when they're ripe. So yeah, it's a definitely useful book, because even if you haven't got a polytunnel, you could follow this guide on how to grow food well in the garden. So yeah, I'm recommending that one. Another one I'm recommending is this one. Now, I've followed this book since I had my allotments way back in 2003. This is my fourth copy. All the others have fell apart. The one that I originally got, I got for £1 in Wilkinson's when I first started, when we had no money. And all I had was about £1 in my pocket. And I saw this book, it had 99% off this one. and I went to the checkout and it was a penny. So yeah, I use this book a lot. It is from Wartime Guides, as far as I know, but it lays out the vegetables, how to sow them, how deep to sow them, when to sow them, some different varieties you can have. There's the sowing guide, the size of the seeds, how much harvest you're going to get off each seed. Now, I highly recommend Huw Richards' video. I'll pop it in the link in the description bar below. And he talks about how to work out how many seeds to sow for how much food you want to eat in your kitchen, and how many pounds of food you will get if you grow the plants well. So I'll pop that in the link in the description bar below. It's an invaluable resource. I was really surprised when I saw it. I thought, that is ingenious. That is a genius way of looking at sowing the seeds that you're going to sow, and how much harvest you're going to get. So it'll give you an idea of how many plants you need to have to get the amount of food that you want for your family. So yeah, I recommend watching that video, but I also recommend this book simply because it's got every vegetable that you will want all laid out. There's the cauliflowers, celery, cucumbers. I love growing cucumbers. I grow them every year. My polytunnel loves green cucumbers, but you can grow them outside. I don't like endive. Endive is horrible, and that radicchio is, it's disgusting stuff. How to grow leeks, how to grow lettuces. So yeah, I recommend this. You can readily find them in the charity shop for £1. So do go round the thrift shops or op shops, whatever you call them. This one is vegetable and herb expert, so I highly recommend it. I've used it for years, donkey's years. I always look at it to see how to plan what I'm going to grow. So yeah, it's just a really useful guide. So if you can find it, highly recommend that one. The other books I want to show you, this is getting quite a long video, sorry, but the other books I want to show you are things that I've purchased that aren't wartime related, apart from three. Yeah, I haven't looked at these books, so I'll just show you them as a recommendation for things, because you were encouraged to go foraging during the war, and you're encouraged to grow herbs, to use the hedgerows and that kind of thing. So this book belonged to old Gordon. It's by Huw Whittingstall. I think it is actually signed, yeah, for Gordon, best wishes, Huw. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. It's got all the things that you can find in nature that you should be harvesting that you can't harvest, things that are deadly, things that are okay to eat. So if you want to do things like sloes, or you want to get greens, that kind of thing, this could be quite a useful book, because you were encouraged to supplement your diet and supplement your food ration with things that grow in the wild. So this might be a useful book to you. You can find them in the charity shop again. But this was Gordon's copy. So yeah, it's a very useful book. I'll show you how it's laid out. This is bilberries. We get them readily around here, but this is just how it's laid out. Talks to you about when to harvest them, the habitat they grow in, the distribution, and what the shrub looks like. So again, a very useful book, but I'm not going to follow this one. This is just things I'm recommending to you. This one as well is the herb and healing plants. Talks about flowers, talks about herbs itself, things you can find in the wild that you can use, like violas, primroses, borage. There's all sorts of things. Yarrow, edible love in a mist, wild marjoram, which we have out the front, incidentally, wild mint, um, meadow saffron, common bizort, dandelion, sorrow, sorrel, toad flax. So many different things in there. So some things are toxic, some things aren't. Very useful book. The other one I've got is Keeping Poultry and Rabbits on Scraps. Now, this is a wartime book. I think this one was this is a modern version of the original book. Let me just have a look. This one's 1941, reprinted in 2008. And it just talks about how you can keep hens on scraps, basically, without having to go out and buy food. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. It does talk to you about butchering, but I don't do that with my hens. It talks to you about how to plan your garden for your hens as well, how to build the hen house and things like that as well. keeping rabbits on scraps. Now, I think rabbits are a very useful harvest, even if you don't eat the meat, because you can eat the poo. Not eat. You can't eat the poo. Well, you can if you want to. Um, you can use the poo on the garden and compost it down. So I think rabbits could be a useful addition if you can feed them on scraps. But that's something I'm thinking about because I want fibre rabbits, rabbits that I can use for spinning. What they're called, Angora rabbits, and keeping them on wartime scraps. So yeah, they're just things that I'm thinking. Sorry, can't put my glasses back on. They're just things that I'm thinking about at the moment. But I do have hens. I have 3 hens. To any of you who haven't seen them before. And I just think this is going to be a really useful book. I haven't had time to read it, but if it's something you're interested in, this might be a good copy to have. The other things I've got, I think these were Gordon's, and this one is fruit growing, tree fruit growing, and soft fruit growing. There you go. And one of them's from 1943, I think. Yeah, this one, the tree fruit growing's 1943, and this one was Gordon's. I think they were both Gordon's actually. It says, what apples shall I plant? Where shall I plant them? Planting and manuring fruit trees, pruning, how to prune them, removing old trees, picking and storage of fruit, pests on the apple of your apple trees, spraying fruit trees, family rules in fruit planting. So yeah, it's a very useful book. There's an awful lot in there. This copy is from, it was first produced in 1943, and this one is from 1951. So he must have bought that when he came out the war. Um, so yeah, it says Raymond Bush was born and educated at Rugby. He began commercial fruit growing after a bad accident in 1914 and continued until 1935 when he took up advisory work and became interested in writing. So yeah, it's an old book by a very old gentleman, and I highly recommend that one too. The other one as well, which I need to read, is definitely Gordon's book, and it's Soft Fruit Growing. He grew a lot of soft fruit currants. He made the most amazing red currant pie, amazing red currant pie. And I'm sure he would have followed this book. And this book is from 1942. Again, last reprinted in 1951. So I highly recommend that one by the same gentleman. And these are Penguin books. And last but not least, I know this is a long video. These are 2 modern day ones by Huw Richards. Again, you know how much I love Huw Richards and how much I love watching him. This is his book by the Self-Sufficiency Garden. It talks to you about how to set up your self-sufficiency garden, placing your polytunnel, foods to grow, hoop beds. There's a plan on how to lay out your garden, which I'm thinking of trying to follow. Jobs you should be doing at different times of the month, things you should be harvesting, again, things you should be sowing, um, boundaries and vertical growing, how to grow up fences and to grow up walls, that kind of thing, watering, preparing your beds, making the hoop beds. So yeah, it's a really, really good book. I highly recommend it. He's also got a new one coming out as well in March. So if you're interested in that, that tells you how much food to grow to feed your family, what you need to be sowing to feed your family, his latest book. And that's to go with the new video that's down below. So that's that one. The other one I've got by him is Grow Food for Free. Now, I will have one of these available for sale on my shop because I have 2 copies. They're both brand new. And this one is more about what to grow, how to grow it, how to make your own garden tools, starting seeds on windowsills, sources of free compost, how to take care of things like rhubarb, what to be sowing and when to do it, diseases, how to fight them, growing peppers, growing salad stuff, growing courgettes, how to sow seeds even. So if you're an amateur, highly recommend this book. Highly recommend this chap as well. He's only about 26, I think. And yeah, I highly recommend that book. I think I got that one for about £6 on eBay, and I also managed to buy earlier than this one the brand new copy. So yeah, highly recommend him. Good chap, lots of useful information on his channel too. So that's my whistle stop tour for Digging for Victory. I hope you're going to come along with me for that journey too. If you have enjoyed this video, do like and subscribe. Do hit that notification bell. That'll tell you when I upload new videos. And do hit the hype button, and YouTube will then share my videos with more people on YouTube because it sees that you really enjoyed my video, apparently. So yeah, I'm going to go and give the dog a walk, take Stripe for a walk, and I will see you in the next video. And the next book video is the last one. It's a 3-part book review series, and it is the reference books that I'm going to be using for my wartime challenge, just to read as reading books, really, just to inspire me and encourage me, and hopefully encourage you to read more wartime books. So I hope you're enjoying this series. I hope you've enjoyed this video. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye for now. Bye bye.